All right, so we've just received word that LIV Golf is going to be increasing their already astronomical payouts per tournament to now $30 million per event in 2026. This as the total investment from the PIF is now approaching $5 billion, and many sources are reporting that losses are just stacking up for the league. And if you put that on top of the fact now that you've got multiple contracts that are going to be expiring in the next year, including Dustin Johnson, you've got Bryson DeChambeau, Brooks Koepka, some big names, wondering if there's going to be even more investment needed to keep those names around. And it does make you question what is going to be the overall sustainability for the league, and can they continue to just keep pouring money into it? Well, LIV is making some big schedule changes for 2026 that might just be indicating where their head's at and what the overall direction is for this, but you can't ignore the money. We're even seeing, it's hard to believe, but Jacques Neiman has made more on course this year in LIV than Scotty Scheffler with his incredible season on the PGA Tour and winning 2 majors. So the money's there and it's only getting bigger, and it does make you wonder, how long can they take this on and what is the direction kind of going forward? Before we get into that, of course, we want to thank this week's sponsor, Titleist. And guys, if you haven't tried out the new lineup of T-Series irons, definitely make some plans to do so. You can go right on the Titleist website and schedule a fitting. That is the best way to experience them. Mike and I recently got fit. It was so incredible to get to hit that entire lineup. You have the T100s, the T150s, T250s now, and the T350s. The best part about this lineup is it blends so seamlessly. And when you get in there and you get fit, you can really see how you can mix and match these into your bag to just really balance out that precision and that power where you need it. So everything in the new lineup looks incredible. The performance is amazing. So if you're even hinting at the idea of possibly putting some new irons in the bags, you definitely owe it to yourselves to get out there and try the new lineup of T-Series irons. And if you do it with a proper fitter, like we've had the incredible good fortune to work with Andy Inman on multiple fittings now, it is just incredible what you learn, not only about your own golf game, but how to make those clubs really fit and work for you. So go to Titleist.com, make sure you guys schedule a fitting, go and check them out. Like I said, you will not regret it. All right, so jumping into this, where this is coming from, first of all, hit social media pretty hard the other day. A report by Josh Carpenter in the Sports Business Journal kind of uncovering this increase. And I think what's even more important to look at is where that new money is going to be applied. So let me read you the quotes and we'll talk a little bit about it. So what Josh Carpenter said in his report, he said, LIV Golf's eye-popping purses will get even bigger in 2026 as the league pumps more investment into its team operations. LIV's current weekly purse of $25 million will go to $30 million in 2026, according to 4 sources similar with the process. And the extra capital will go towards the league's weekly team competition. He goes on to say, currently $5 million of the weekly tournament purses are split amongst the team. $3 million to the winning team, $1.5 million to second place, and $500,000 to third. The remaining $20 million covers the individual stroke play portion. Starting in 2026, the extra $5 million will spread out among all 13 teams based on finishing position. I think this is very interesting because they're saying that it's going up by $5 million, but that $5 million is going to be set aside. It's not going to go towards the individual stroke play. It's going to go towards the team. In a way, this is me seeing LIV doubling down on the team format and really kind of showing some of these guys that you don't necessarily need to win week in and week out to take home, a big paycheck. If your team does well, and then this is going to be that incentive to get better men on your team. Maybe there's some trades, maybe there's some acquisitions, because guys are knowing like the investment's not just in me week in and week out, it's in my team.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. And I don't know the exact like salary payout of LIV. I know the winner gets $4 million, but I'm talking all the way down. Like the last place guy, what does he get? 50,000, 100,000. I don't know what it is, but I know they get something, and it's something decent, right? So you're telling me now that every team, because right now I think only 3 teams place, top 3, and those top 3 get paid. Now every team is going to get paid, and the bottom team's still going to get a taste.
The $5 million. I don't know necessarily because they don't have the breakout here of if all the way down to the bottom will get paid out. If you guys do know, put it in the comments.
Yeah, I'm
This is
curious
kind of
how
like
that's going to shake out.
a little bit is like kind of coming as it goes, but they're saying at least those it's saying it's spread out among all 13 teams. So that to me does indicate that everyone's going to get a piece. I think what you're going to see is whereas the winning team had 3 million, I could see that going to 3.5. I could see that number coming up too.
Does it feel like that LIV is just pouring water into a boat that's sinking, or is this what you need to do at an early stage of starting a brand new league? I don't know. That's the question here. Like, where are they going with this? Contracts are coming up, like you said.
Exactly. And that's what I want to dig in. I want to talk in a second about the overall sustainability and whether it's a smart move to keep pouring the money in. I think there are some signs of hope here. I think that's why they're doing this. I think there's two reasons why LIV is doing this. One is signs of hope, but the other is a very long-term focus. I do not think they have a short-term focus here. We've heard it from the top, from Yasser at the PIF. We've heard it from O'Neill, the new CEO. They're just seemingly to brushing off anything short-term and focusing on the long-term. But one thing that is remaining consistent is that they are really looking to do more with the teams bringing in their own revenue. And here's where something we're starting to see gain some traction. So you had John Rahm's Legion 13 team signed a major deal with Callaway. You also had Torque GC just did a deal with Ping. So it's becoming less and less reliant on the PIF to keep this ship moving.
Yeah.
But it's been not disclosed what the total amounts of those deals were. So I don't quite know. Additionally, you got to keep in mind the way this whole league is structured, LIV owns 75% of each of the teams, and then the team owners own 25%. So they have their individual stake in it as well. But LIV is still the biggest kind of stakeholder there.
Yeah.
But regardless, even in its current state, the teams and the individuals are bringing in big money, which does kind of raise the question, why the increase, right? Do they, if you're already getting to the point where the payouts are, if not on pace with the PGA Tour, you could say they're outpacing the PGA Tour, 25 million per event. You've got the big payouts at the end of the year for like the overall winners, the team winners. And it makes you wonder, like, what is the reason now, if you're already in a state of suffering losses, has been reported, why increase that? I think, which we'll talk about here in a second, I think it has to do with maybe not giving out the big individual contracts and trying to entice them with the amount of money that can be made on the field.
I was just going to say, let's bump up the winnings because we can't pay them any more than we already have up front. You got your bonuses. We're not doing that anymore. But I understand you could leave and go anywhere after this is up. Maybe we'll increase the purse so you'll stay. That's what I think it is. Yep.
Well, to put it in perspective, and this has been that big headline grabber, is you've got Jacques Neiman has surpassed Scotty Scheffler in season earnings this year. Because, when you think about the career season, you think a lot about Scotty. You can make the argument, too, as Neiman winning 5 times on LIV. That's incredible.
That's 5 signature events. Remember, everything on LIV's a signature. It's 4 million.
Yeah.
4 million. 4 million. Every time he cashes in. Scotty's got a bunch of signature wins this year, but I think he's got a couple of non-signature wins.
He's got that, and he has 2 major wins as well.
Yeah, those are ultra signature.
So, tail of the tape, right? Neiman, 21.94 million in winnings over 5 events on LIV. Scotty Scheffler, 19.2 million, which is 4 wins, including 2 majors. So 2 wins on the PGA Tour, 2 wins in majors. So Neiman has actually out-earned him in that way. But I think the bigger thing to look at here is the staggering amount of money that this really is, right? You have Scotty Scheffler has just gotten to 90 million in career earnings on course. This is independent of any type of endorsement deals, any of that type of stuff. Independent of that.
Yeah.
On top of that, Scotty Scheffler just took home another fat check, $18 million for finishing in first place at the end of the regular season as we go into the FedEx Cup playoffs. It's not going to end there. He's going to do well in the FedEx Cup playoff. Whether he wins this thing or not, right, he's taking home more.
Back up a second. What? Tell me about this bonus.
You haven't seen this?
No.
Oh, it flashed all over my Instagram. Oh, come on. All over my Instagram page. Yeah, Scotty's
Is this
18.
new?
Yeah.
No, I knew about the silly pip thing and all that. That's separate.
This is
End of season. If you finish in the top, I mean, how many guys do they pay out?
I don't know how many guys have paid out. You guys can weigh in the comments if you know. I just know the big headline grabber was the $18 million. There was what we did, and we kind of talked a little bit about this, but didn't get to dig in too deeply. But there's been the restructuring of the FedEx Cup playoffs.
Yes.
Right? Taking a little bit of that lead out and stuff like that, and just kind of shifting some of the money around.
Got it.
So the overall payout, I believe, for the winner is going to be less, but they shifted some of that funding and gave it to the guy who finishes the season at the top. Right? Which makes sense because like you could have a stellar season, finish the lead of the FedEx Cup points, and you could have a terrible like that short off season stretch. Whatever the motivation is, I think the motivation is again just motivating guys to stay on tour. But he took home $18 million now before the FedEx Cup's playoffs even start.
I recall the money being moved around, but I just didn't know the number. That's why you caught me off guard there.
18 million. But Neiman has a chance to then match that because the individual season champion at LIV takes home $18 million, and he has a substantial lead right now over John Rahm.
Insane.
So take those big numbers that we just said and add $18 million to both of them.
Yeah,
basically is where we're looking. So again, staggering amount of money.
Huge.
At this same time, many people are reporting that losses on the LIV side continue to mount up. Now, bear with me here. I'm going to run through some of these numbers that are being reported. Keep one thing in mind, though, and this is where we can only speculate the growth that the LIV has had over the last year, and I don't want to in any way kind of take that away from it because I think there's something that could be talked about there. The trouble is the financials don't come out for a year later. So right now, everyone's kind of looking at the financials, for into the 2023 and that season. So a lot of that, keep that with a grain of salt. Some of these numbers are older. It might be better. But there was a recent report done by Money in Sport. And what they said was that LIV losses are piling up at a staggering rate, necessitating regular injections of new capital by the Saudi PIF. This is what we're talking about here, that $5 billion number. That's that big eye-flashing number. Of the continued investment is now approaching $5 billion poured into LIV from the PIF. The same report that just came out from Money in Sport concluded saying, we know from the statutory reporting by the Jersey holding companies that the total capital approved by PIF is now at $3.9 billion. $1 billion of which relates to LIV Golf UK and the balance to LIV Golf Inc. in the US. Clearly, the U.S. financials must be considerably worse than the rest of the world performance reported by LIV Golf in UK. PIF's investment in LIV Golf could approach $5 billion by the end of this year, with further big bills on the horizon if they want to continue to retain top golfers as their contracts expire. So that's where we're getting that $5 billion number. This is where we're going to have to see where things go with these contracts. We have, as I mentioned earlier, we have Brooks and Bryson's contracts expire in 2026. Dustin Johnson expires at the end of this year. Now, looking at those financial reportings, just painting this picture a little bit deeper, Golf Week did a report for those 2024 financial reportings, and they said revenues picked up in 2023. This is for LIV. Revenues picked up in 2023 from 4.9 million to 37.1 million, with Australia providing 45% of the annual total, 16.6 million, based on the LIV Adelaide tournament. And they went on saying, tournament hosting fees made up 37% of revenues, the largest category of income. Broadcast rights income amounted to $3 million, about 8% of the total. But of course, as I said before, these figures are back from 2023. That's the most recent public information we have. I have to imagine that both of those have gone up in 2024 and 2025, especially with new broadcast deals. So I don't think it's nearly as, abysmal, dim, whatever you want to call it, as what this is being painted. But I think the more important thing here is two things. One, you talk about revenues of 30 to, even if you said 100 million brought in, is still nothing compared to 5 billion invested. It means they're still so far in the red, like they're way beyond. But the second thing is that where the money is being starting to made more is not necessarily domestically here in the U.S., it's internationally, where you have an event like the one in Australia bringing in significant revenue with large crowds, ticketing wise, and with people wanting to watch and broadcast deals. So it does make you wonder when we talk about this long-term sustainability and where the focus is going to be going forward, how much that's going to be international, and LIV is already tipping their hand at that just a bit.
It just doesn't seem like one event, the Australia event seems to be their biggest and most popular. It gets a lot of people there. It sells out. Everyone's excited. That's like, they need to replicate that, right? But I can't see that bringing in a ton of money. Like you said, to even sniff. I think about a band. Imagine you funded a brand new band for $5 billion and they only played 14 concerts a year.
Yep.
I mean, you're never going to make the money back. So are they going to increase their schedule? They're going to go to newer countries. Is this thing going to expand way beyond? Where is LIV going with this to get to that point? Is there even a financial goal?
Yeah.
You think about it. I know it's weird to say, but
and where's that financial goal? Where's that? Do they have a break-even point when you don't have a traditional thing like you'd have a company that has stakeholders that are saying, hey, they're more looking at short term. That if we don't return revenue in the next quarter, we may cut this thing.
Yes.
Right. Here, where you're saying, with the PIF and having deep pockets, maybe they're looking at a break-even point that's a decade from now, and they don't care if they lose before that.
Yeah.
So I want to break that down. I want to talk about where their focus is, what they're kind of tipping their hand and showing where their focus is going to be, and just kind of what their maybe overall goals are for the league, especially with these new increases, in just a second. Let's do a break there. Let's do a quick word from our sponsor, and we'll get right back into it.
All right, guys, you've heard us rave about FootJoy shoes on and on this show. We talk about the Premiers, which to me, they're one of my favorite golf shoes on the market. They're classy. I love the different styles and the colorways and all of the things that go into it. The comfort, the Ortholite Eco Plush fit beds. These are what sit underneath your heel throughout your entire round of golf. So FootJoy, they think about comfort, they think about style, and they've got an incredible amount of golf shoes. You can get lost on their website, and you can even build your own golf shoes there. That's another cool thing. But I also want to highlight the ones that I'm wearing. I don't know if you could see these, but they are the Quantums. The Quantums are their new off-course shoes, which I absolutely love. They're so comfortable. I even work out. You can walk in these. You can run in these things. I mean,
great
they're just super sleek. Great in the sim, and I take them to the range. I mean, they're great. I love them. They're clean. They're classy. Again, that's their theme throughout their whole lineup. So check out the whole lineup. Go to footjoy.com. Pick yourself up a fresh new pair of kicks today.
All right. So getting back at it, where are they looking going forward? As a business decision, what we're seeing, obviously, is far more of a return on investment for international events. And you can see that the writing's on the wall for LIV, and you could maybe make the argument that all along they wanted this to be and we've talked about it here on the podcast extensively, that the PGA Tour has left a wide open hole of potentially growing the game internationally. And you've got a lot of places like Australia where they just don't get the representation of really high-level professional golf. And LIV is coming in and filling that hole and growing the game in that way. And it's also their business model is following that. They're making, as we talked about, making more revenue there. So now you look at the pivot that they're doing, the 2026 LIV Golf schedule is their most, and they're billing it this way, their most international schedule ever. You have a heavy focus on that international presence. You have 9 tournaments that'll be played outside of the U.S., and only 5 LIV tournaments will be played domestically here in the States in 2026. So it just really shows that they're seeing it. They're seeing that that's where the broadcast deals are coming. I think they're thinking more long term, where that's where the sponsorship deals might come in. You might be seeing even more, international companies that are sponsoring teams, sponsoring maybe potentially even events. But regardless, that's where the focus is, and I think that's where, like I said, big broadcast deals will eventually be signed.
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, I don't think these events are sponsored individually yet, right? It's just LIV Adelaide. It's just
we haven't
LIV
seen
location.
A title sponsor like you would see.
So it could be LIV Hong Kong presented by XYZ. And then there's a big chunk of money. And my other think of it before is you talked about these guys and their contracts coming up. You take a guy like Bryson. Yeah, could he make $50 million a year doing YouTube with sponsorships and revenue? Yes, of course he can, right? But I still think these guys are competitors. If they leave LIV because of no bonus, they have nowhere to play. I feel like they got to stay sharp because they all still want to compete in majors. Yeah. I mean, Bryson's not done with majors.
But I don't know about nowhere to play. You got to think that the PGA Tour would welcome Bryson back with very open arms.
I mean, they suspended Wesley Bryan for playing in a YouTube event.
Yeah.
And they're going to bring Bryce. I don't know. Yes, would Bryson kill it in tickets?
Think about it. I mean, from a pure publicity stunt, if they were able to run the headlines that Bryson has, come back home, that he's left LIV, and I'm not going to say that it's going to happen, but I think that it would be both a dumb decision financially and a dumb decision for like how it would look and the optics on it, to like if he left LIV because he wasn't getting the contract and to say like, oh, I'm sorry, you don't have a spot here anymore. I can't imagine it.
Yeah, I know.
I can't imagine.
You got to think if they bring Bryson back, you got to open up the doors to everyone.
Yeah, you
can't.
I think that there's got to be a way that they say, and why wouldn't they? Why would they not want these star players back? Why would they not say?
Right, I'm trying to think in my head, what would be wrong about it?
Right,
and except for like that's the rules and you broke them, so you can't come back.
Yeah, I don't see that happening. Yeah. I just don't. But again, what is the focus here? I think, and this is what we've heard kind of from the mouths of leadership at LIV, is that ultimately what they're looking to do with this league is very similar to the F1, the Formula One format. I think that there's going to be a real drive, especially going forward as they have a much more international schedule, of just really looking at ways that teams individually can bring on new sponsorships, start to bring in some of their own big money, and then it will really kind of help with this, getting the whole kind of league back in the black. Because remember, like I mentioned earlier, the league owns 75% of these teams.
Yeah.
So if a team secures a huge sponsorship deal, which they want them to be going out and doing on their own, that's putting the money back right in the pockets of the league as well.
Right.
So that's what's going to help. And I think this is where you very well may see that maybe even if it's over a decade, let's double the number. Let's double 5 billion. Let's go to 10. If the PIF is saying, let's put 10 billion in, maybe they're seeing this as being, look again at Formula One, $100 billion industry in the next decade.
Right.
So I think that's where a lot of people are looking at this and they're running the headlines and they're saying, oh, LIV, big losses. They're dead in the water. They're going to fold the tents. They might be saying like, we don't even care about what we lose in the first 10 years. We're looking at, if you can come up with the next Formula One, forget about it. Legacy amount of money for many, many years to come.
Do you think a sports league like LIV could live on a Netflix platform or like a Hulu platform? Or does it need television?
Yeah, it needs, I think
like a Netflix can't give them
live
$250 million for a title spot,
I think that they may, just like they did the Formula One documentaries, it might be supportive of that. I think what it is especially when you're this international, you have so many different broadcast rights from country to country. I think what you're going to see is a lot of, instead of, one big broadcast deal, you're going to see a lot of different broadcast deals that cover different areas. Yeah. But I think it's traditional live broadcast is going to be where a lot of that money still comes in. Who knows? We are moving more and more to streaming, YouTube television, stuff like that. That's still live. It could be live broadcast, but there's a lot to be there. But I think the other thing that's really important to look at here is, again, when you talk about the long-term sustainability, for as much as we keep seeing these numbers, these eye-popping numbers, 4 point whatever billion, $5 billion invested by the PIF, I think one thing you have to remember is that throughout all of this, the PIF hasn't flinched. They continue to pour the money in without any hesitation. So it's not like the old, shareholders where it's just like, here's more investment, but I better see this. We're not seeing that. That's indicated in the language. So coming from, the head of the PIF himself, Yasser, what he had said just last year, and his tone remains the same on this. He said, PIF remains committed to investing in and supporting LIV and the team golf format that has brought new energy and so many new fans to the game around the world. The game of golf is only beginning to fulfill its potential. This is the vision we had when LIV was created, and today that's alive. That's more alive than ever. LIV has transformed the sport, and we will continue to grow the game globally, expand its fan base, elevate its platform, and maintain incredible momentum. So you're hearing him saying it right there. Again, going back to the easiest analogy is that Formula One model. I think for as much as we can kind of be a little bit blinded by it, watching it here in the States, because the truth is, there's a lot of fans here in the States, but it has not taken on the traction that the PGA Tour has here in the States. But that's not to turn a blind eye to what it's done globally. A spot that, again, that the PGA Tour has neglected for far too long. and now they're coming in and they're growing it to people. Maybe it's not even necessarily converting a PGA Tour fan to a LIV fan. They're creating new golf fans by going to locations, and people are coming and checking out these events, and it might be even a new sport to some of these people, and they're getting it on the ground floor, and they're getting in with LIV. So I think if we follow not only like the investment, the physical investment, but what it's being said, I think that LIV, $5 billion seems like a lot to us. I think it's, honestly, to a certain extent, it's as crazy as it sounds. It's pocket change.
Yeah, I'm sure.
To the overall PIF fund, which continues to grow and is now one of the biggest investment funds, if not the biggest investment fund in the world right now. And they're saying, we don't care about now, 26, 27, 28. These guys are looking at that 2035. I think they're looking at a product that's going to entice people to come in with or without bonuses, with huge payouts per tournament, with the ability to make money by being a part of a winning team. And you're going to get guys who are going to be brought in because they want the long-term sustainability. Because think about it like this too. You may have injuries. You may not be able to play forever. But if you get in on the ground floor, now you're a part owner in a team. You're invested in a team, and that team continues to play well even after you've left. Well, boy, I mean, talk about career earnings could be something that's unprecedented at that point. So I think what you're going to see is that continued focus moving forward. Where we're going to be is that that this is not going anywhere, and for a higher focus being put globally, maybe less events here in the States. Maybe they're figuring like, hey, the PGA Tour's got that covered. Going head to head with them really hasn't done much for us. So let's play internationally and uncover markets that were untouched gold mines. So
makes sense.
As big as the numbers are, and as much as we're hearing people saying that there are losses, I don't think it's in the minds of LIV and LIV management right now. And I think it's going to be interesting to watch that continue to unfold. I think it's going to be very interesting to see who gets retained as contracts expire. And I think that's going to be one of the biggest tells, is if a guy like Bryson doesn't get a big money contract extension but stays with LIV, it proves that the players believe in the long-term ability of the league. So let us know your own thoughts in the comments below. Make sure you subscribe wherever you get your podcast, and we will see you in the next one.